Ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on now to our next session. So, how to navigate the unknown VR territory. Okay, the person that's going to do that for us is actually someone who considers herself, and certainly many others as well, a true gaming geek, and started off her company, in fact, in her living room. From her living room when she was a lot younger as well. CEO and co-founder of svrvive Studios, moderator of the global network Women in VR, and has also been named very proudly one of the most promising and up-and-coming entrepreneurs in Sweden. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the CEO and co-founder of svrvive, Faviana Vangelius. Keep the claps going, keep them going as she gets her mic on just in time.
All right, test. Hello, everyone. I'm just gonna film you. These are not VR headsets, these are spectacles. But it's just to show how importance of design and the colors from what we see from the first generation of VR. And I'm gonna talk about how to navigate in unknown VR territory, and I think this is mine. Yep. But before I begin and present it and also introduce who I am, I'm gonna start with these YouTubers trying to pronounce our VR studio name, which isn't very easy.
Hello everybody, Toasted Loaf. This is svrvive.
Demo. svrvive.
Svrvive.
SVR Vive. Survive. Survive.
Survive. I just realised then, even though it's survive, it's got Vive in it as well, and it's for the Vive. Inception.
SVRVIVE. Svrvive.
Survive.
All right, so let's try this again. Hello, I'm Faviana Vangelius, and who am I? I'm the CEO and co-founder of my very own virtual reality game studio, which is based in Stockholm, Sweden. And we actually started only 10 months ago, and everything has happened really, really fast, which is exactly how the VR is happening at all, which is really, really fast. But my background is, when I first tried VR, it was when I was studying computer science at Stockholm University. And I got to try roller coaster, which, how many of you have tried VR? Let's start there. Okay, so a few of you. Trying roller coaster in VR is not a very good thing, but that's how I started. But from what I really fell in love with was this new technology, and I saw the potential. But not many of my peers did as well. They were not at all impressed and thought that this was way too much in the future. I had actually also already started one of my first companies, which was mobile gaming apps. And that's what they wanted to play it safe. But as an entrepreneur, crazy as I am, I just wanted to go to the unknown, which is where we are now. But I'm gonna say a little bit about the studio. So we founded in May 2016, so last year. We are today 15 people already, actually. And we received a 1.5 euro seed funding. And we have already released our first title, which was actually for the HTC Vive initially, and we're now putting it over for Oculus, and as well as we are working on our upcoming VR title. We also started another VR game studio, where we received the 0.7 million euros. but that they are mostly focusing on PlayStation VR at the moment. But this is a really unknown territory once again. There is a lot of how to say trial and errors really, because when we first started, there weren't even any VR headsets to buy in the store. Today, we can see a lot of this in the store. So I'm gonna do a quick VR snapshot. I know that some of the earlier presentators have already said this, so I'm gonna say them really briefly. But I'm gonna start with that there is a raging hardware war, what do I mean by this? Well, as you saw earlier, there were the hardware stores with HTC and Oculus, Facebook. I'm from the producer point of view, so I'm one of the VR developers. But initially, so there is Facebook, Oculus, I'm gonna stand here, HTC Vive, who were here before me. You have Sony PlayStation, who already launched, Samsung, Google. So let me say that, thank you, all right. Is this better? All right. A raging hardware war. So we have the biggest tech companies in the world doing VR. In essence, we have the smartest people doing this. And not to mention, we are going to China next month, because a lot of things happening there as well, both content-wise but also hardware-wise. Another thing is the media hype, where a lot of people have heard about VR. A lot of people have heard about augmented reality. It can be shown all types of media. We see it everywhere. And also, investor-wise, there's a lot of money pouring into this. The Oculus person had some numbers, but we're talking about really billion range here. Well, these are supposed to be headlines. I work on Keynote myself, and I had to do this in PowerPoint. But it's saying all the numbers there. So I'm just gonna skip it. And here is the most important part. You, the consumers, everyone is really interested. And you can do a really simple search on Google Analytics, where you can see that the last years, it has really gone up. So I'm into gaming. I grew up with games, which is why I'm working with games. I don't know much about video, and well, VR porn, I will let that to someone else. But really, in the essence, people all around the world and from different backgrounds, different ages, are really curious. So, despite of all of this, we have the hardware war, we have media, we have investors, the consumers. It's still very uncertain. We don't know where this is going, only that it is going somewhere. But we can also see this, if you look back, with a familiar pattern. And that is to say that all of this was happening at the same time that social media and smartphones and tablets, they all went through the same stages of uncertainty. So that is the brief part of how VR Snapshot looks today. I'm going to go to the second part, which is how to enter the VR market. And please, this is just some of the learnings and also some of the strategy that we have used with our studio and how we entered. So I'm going to share some of our strategies here. So the first one, why entering the VR market or even the AR market? Well, doing it by speed, which is one of our key points at our studio. Why? Well, with speed, you can gain market shares easier. You can connect and have partnerships partnerships easier. Just the fact that we're talking to the biggest tech companies in the world, that is both with Facebook, Oculus, and HTC. We're also talking to game engines. We're partnership with Unity, where they invite us to showcase our games. This will not be possible in some years where there is gonna be more competition. And also, you learn and gain a lot of insights if you have your speed. Innovation. So, when we first started, basically in our living room, we had to do everything by learning. There weren't any YouTube, there weren't even VR education, or barely any VR jobs. So how do you learn? So the main thing with entering the VR market is that with new technology, most of the times comes new opportunities. So this is the thing we were seeing. And we get to be the ones setting the standards. We get to be the one being the pioneers. We get to be the teachers to teach what we have learned and how we have created and all the headaches we've been going through and all the, well, the next being the team. I will never do this alone. Having the team with you that complements you or that have the different necessary skills, it's really a necessity. Welcoming the differences, where we are 15 people today with completely different backgrounds. Everyone has to have a say. And another thing that we really encourage all our team members to do is to go and mingle. And by that, I mean going to these kind of networks, events. Back in Stockholm, we have different types of VR meetups, both in for women in tech, but also gaming enthusiasts in general. If you connect and talk to people, you will also gain a lot of knowledge. And this is one of my favorites, fuck-ups. By fuck-ups, I mean, obviously, to dare to fail. And also, dare to try many things. And this is by our point of view, is the best way to learn. But also, don't forget to analyze all the learnings and all the mistakes. So you want to repeat them and learn from them as well. And making friends, which means all the new startups, all the new VR studios that are popping up, we really are so thrilled and happy that they are popping up, because we need to build this community together. And also, it is very important to not see them as competitors, but mainly to see them as colleagues. Because it really, in essence, what it means is that we are all in this together. What we have seen now is, yes, it's mostly early adopters that can actually, that are really enthusiastic about VR, but we still have yet to reach the mass market. And this is where we are at right now, having to deal with together. So this is why also it is important to say yes to the curious. I was one of those in the beginning. I tried to contact pretty much every VR company in Sweden, not many, trying to learn, and to be able to have some mentorship and guidance is really all it can take to actually do something. So, HSC brought up tilt brush earlier, because it is so difficult trying to explain what VR is to someone that hasn't tried it yet. I could talk about VR for too long, but this is me trying to explain for you who hasn't tried it yet. So one of the more important ones being imagination and storytelling. The first person today, the Nokia person connecting people, talked about storytelling, and I cannot agree more. We have this new medium that impacts the brain in such a way that as never before, that we can use our creativity and our imagination and do completely new types of storytellings as never before. This is from Tiltbrush. It's what I try to describe as paint, but in VR. And of course, exploration and new worlds. A lot of the previous presentators have already tried to talk about what it is in VR, but this is also a goal then. Instead of being in a gray, cold, dark winter Sweden, you can instead go to the sea or even to space, or completely entire new made-up world, which is what we do in our game studio. Immersion and emotions. This is actually, this is a video. This is actually gonna be a little loud, hopefully not. All right, I'm gonna stop there. You get the point. A lot of emotions. Remember me telling you that I tried roller coaster the first time? Well, that was it. Anyways, with VR, you get to really immerse yourself in a completely new way. And then drunk 2-year-olds. This is something we have noticed when we have demoed, which is practically what happens to every new person that gets to try VR for the first time. You will remember this when you try it yourselves. But it's pretty much, as soon as you enter this VR world, you really get fascinated. It's like being reborn. And completely random objects, such as glasses or people, the first thing they do is pick them up and really look at them for too long. And then what if the second thing they do after that is exactly what it says? Throw and breaking everything. Because it's completely new medium, and it's so fun. But going back to the immersion and emotions, the third point being that people really get easily scared. And this is something we have noticed by demoing our first game, which is not a horror game at all. It's actually just an adventure puzzle game. But because of the impact, because it's being a little too dark, or because of the sound, people really get scared. Now for the last part, I'm going to share what it is that we create and what we use when we create our VR game experiences. This is a trailer for our first game, which is called svrvive Helix, and it's just to show a little bit how it is, how we have done and created when using VR.
From the creators of virtually nothing, except the pre-alpha demo of the same title. Are you ready to unveil the mystery? Svrvive, the DS Helix.
that was a little bit showing of what we have created for our first title. Also, a point in taking that to finding your own voice when creating VR experiences. So in the beginning, I showed you YouTubers trying to pronounce our VR game studio, and this is something that actually was bothering us and people bothering us a lot because nobody can pronounce this. Even though it's, for me, very obvious, it's svrvive, but with the VR. We just found it and made it into our strength, using it as finding our own voice and just making a joke out of it and trying to embrace it. So, in essence, when we create our VR game experiences, we do exactly that. We use imagination and storytelling. This is a character called Nicodemus Salinger from Survive the Helix, and with the background of one of our missions in our game. And of course, then it comes to the exploration in new worlds. We have created a game where we pretty much force the player to end up in these different worlds, forcing them to explore, because that is essential what VR is about. Immersion and emotions. Remember me saying about people getting easily scared. This is another showcase where a YouTuber is trying to find some clues in a basement. It's a little too dark, so I think that's why he gets scared. But it's just to show the reactions of some of the people that tried the first game.
Can I replace the light bulb? Okay. Oh, boop.
Once again, this is an adventure game, guys, and people still get scared. So our learnings is really to try to understand the potential, but also the risks you can have with VR. If you're not trying to scare the hell out of people, try to make the games or experiences, doesn't have to be a game, not so dark and maybe changing of the music, etc. But once again, it's been 10 months already, and we have learned so much. And we always encourage new people to come to us and ask, what is the deal about, but also the first thing I want to do is make people believe by trying themselves. That is really the only way. I hate to sound like Jobs, but it's how can we make people want something if they haven't tried it themselves? And really, in essential, I do believe this is going to be revolutionary. We may be doing only games, but it's also part of education and creativity and a new type of storytelling. But that is some years to come. So to sum this up from the whole presentation, and how to navigate in unknown territory and the learnings and strategy that we have done from our game studio is, for number one, it's to be fast and to learn fast. And then also to combine the diverse skills in your team. Because this is a new medium. What has worked before in either movies or in games industry, it's not going to work the same with VR. And then really build on the unique selling points on the new medium, which is exploration, which is storytelling. Also to try to dare to not only fail, but also to try new things. When I first started, this was one of my biggest things that I didn't want to do. Nobody wants to fail. But look at them as learnings rather. And also be the one building the community. If there isn't any Hanover VR meetup, create it. Find people that are interested in VR as yourselves and learn from each other and make friends. And of course, the last thing, which is one of the more funny things, is that entertain the drunk 2-year-olds. A lot of people still hasn't tried VR for the first time. Please be gentle and respect each other. And that is all for myself. Thank you so much. And I guess if there's any questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. So any questions from our audience members for Faviana on what you just heard? Okay, nothing at all, but I'm sure you can grab Faviana for a coffee today. You're here today. Most of the day you're here as well. Grab her, have a coffee, and chat about what she's been expressing. Ladies and gentlemen, again, hands together for Faviana Vangelius.